to pitch the best approach on how to get them to give you money is you have to be able to provide your case on how you're going to make them money and how it's worth it for them to give you money.
Cool, Ave. Welcome to Wine, Whiskey, and Weed Show. This is your host, Sid Patel. And people here, I have Ave Miller with me. And Ave is the co-founder of Uncle Arnie's Beverage. I'll have Ave speak about that more, on what they're up to. And till what I know, Ave, you've really made a successful brand here in California. It's in a lot of dispensaries. And till what I last saw your update is almost 380 dispensaries, right? I love the way you keep an update on your LinkedIn. So that's where I got the number from. Ave, welcome again. Why don't you give a little context and introduction to our audience and just tell us, a little bit of a background story on how you ended up in cannabis and what you're up to these days.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for, bringing me on the podcast and even just asking me to be on here, Sid. So I appreciate you. But so I started out in cannabis. I've been in cannabis since I was 13, actually. And I've been consuming for quite a long time. I'm from Florida originally, but I ended up moving out to Portland back in 2013 and worked for some brick and mortar retail stores out there, and then had always kind of been dabbling in and out of cannabis. My buddy had a medicinal grow in Oregon, so I used to help him actually grow at his home grow, and used to basically just trim and do stuff for free weed, and was really focusing more on the retail management and retail sales. And through that, I actually ended up getting introduced to Cameron Forney, one of the founders of Select. And with that, there was an interesting opportunity for me to help bring their brand here into the space in 2017. So I've been kind of dabbling back and forth on if I wanted to leave a job that I was doing for 5 years, I was so successful in, to kind of jump into this new venture. And my mother basically was the one that was just kind of smacked me upside the head and was like, "You've been doing this for so long. Why the hell would you not go into cannabis and just try it?" So with that, I ended up just packing up a U-Haul, moved my friend down to Garberville up here in Humboldt, dropped off all the Select stuff. And then 3 months later, ended up moving out here to Sacramento and starting with Select as a product formulator for them and also production manager for the cart filling side of things, and scaled that to a team of roughly about 10 people that were doing cartridges. We were doing about 15 to 20,000 cartridges a day, trained somebody to formulate and make all the distillate and make all of the actual strains, and transitioned to supply chain, scaled their supply chain, built up a network of 200 growers, and was, curating anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 pounds of trim per week to be able to give to other processors and stuff like that to make oil for us. And then I stepped away in 2019 and started consulting business. And through that consulting business, I ended up meeting my partner, Matt, and we got introduced at it was like a demo new dispensary opening kind of situation at Kind Pharma. And with that, we ended up connecting 2 months later down the road, and he had a couple different brands that he wanted to bring to the space and didn't really know how to make the intro into the market. And I started selling nectar for him. And over the course of those 4 months, we started Ave Beverage and came up with the action and game plan for Uncle Arnie's and launched Uncle Arnie's May 2020. So through there is how the evolution of Arnie's really started and how Matt and I actually met. And since then, we've been around for a little over 2 years now, 2.5 years since we started Ave Beverage, a little over 2 years and 2 months since we started Uncle Arnie's. And, we're just still self-funded, don't have any big VC investors or anything like that. And what we're really up to today and now is just working on continuing to grow the product portfolio, continuing to grow distribution footprint, and, continuously trying to raise money and keep it really guerrilla style and just nitty gritty and just trying to fucking sell some beverages. And so that's kind of how we got to Uncle Arnie's and where we're at now. So
no, I love it. I mean, I think I can see it. Like you guys are pure hustling it out and bootstrapping this whole thing, and it's all organic. I can see like another order coming in and using that money for another order, and you can see it from the actions. And I think you're really putting efforts where it all counts like the most, which is like what I can see is like knocking doors and getting more placements. Forget about everything else. Let's just grow the accounts. So I want to dive deep into that. And yeah, I mean, I'm curious as well on where did this Uncle Arnie's name come from, and what's the story behind that?
Yeah, so this guy right here that you see, so the original design and idea, our designer, Jeff Bull, he and Matt, they came up with, there was this whole story that we were going to try to paint over, a 5-year span between Matt's High Soda, and that was like this thing that was weird that not a lot of people knew about, but they saw everywhere, and Uncle Arnie's and basically the whole gang. And Uncle Arnie's was actually only ever supposed to be just one product, which was the Arnold Palmer. And the guy right here is actually Arnold Palmer, just like 70 stonified. And because the product just was such a large hit, it grew into something more. So now we're really trying to curate and paint this picture that Uncle Arnie's is your uncle that's always bringing and curating good vibes and bringing he's the supplier of happy times and good vibes. But now even more so too as well, Uncle Arnie's really kind of lives within all of us. Like I think that just with the last 100+ years of the stigma of cannabis and what cannabis is, at least for me, and I know a lot of my team members, we're kind of the Uncle Arnie of our family. When you pull up to a family function, there's always, at least for me, I come from a very Christian background. And so anytime I ever pull up to a family function, they're always like, here's Ave, he's probably stoned or something goofy, funny like that, where I'm the classic stoner of the family. And Uncle Arnie's now is a representative of that classic stoner that's in the family, but also somebody that's supplying the good vibes. So
like it. Nice. So let's go on, pure sales here. I really want to understand what keeps you motivated as well. And I see that, again, I'm just consuming I'm coming from your LinkedIn content, let's say. I can see that you're pushing positivity. You're optimist as an individual till what I can see. You're a happy person overall, right? So what keeps you going and keeps you knocking doors? What kind of things do you work on and tell your sales rep that, hey, don't worry, it's a bad, one more bad day, tomorrow's going to be a good day. Walk us over on what keeps you on, and also what are you telling your reps?
Yeah. Dude, I think with sales in general, you have to keep like some sort of like positive mindset. There's a lot of negativity that's in the world. And also the biggest thing I think that a lot of people like don't understand about cannabis is that it's a whirlwind. And it's also an evolution. Like this industry is going to continuously be an evolution of what cannabis is and what cannabis was and what cannabis should be. And I think it's always about like kind of looking towards the future. It's even the same with how you're building the Cannabis Drink Expo, right? Like it's not this super massive, well-known expo, but you're starting from the ground level. It doesn't matter if you're getting, 50 people that are coming to the expo or 100 people that are coming into the expo. Even if you just get one person, that's what really matters the most. And with sales, you just got to have thick skin in general. And it's all about driving good customer service. And at least when I'm talking with my team, it's all about the intangibles and untangibles and the controllables and uncontrollables. May that be like a late delivery, or may that be going through a buyer that just won't answer an email for 2+3 weeks when that they're out of product and they've been out of product for 2 weeks and customers are yelling at them. It's about understanding that this is just the nature of how it is. You can only control what you can control, and you have to keep a positive mindset with sales, because there's people that will tell you fuck you to your face, and there's people that will also be super, super big loyal fans of just the brand. And there's people that play hardball and think that they're the biggest and the baddest of being a purchasing manager. And, at the end of the day, as long as you're the one that is curating a quality customer service experience, like, you should be happy going home at the end of the day with that. And if you're supporting your team from a sales management perspective and ensuring that they're always hitting their goals, or you're alongside with them that entire step of the way, I think that gives the team a lot more positivity and confidence too, as well, that you're just not like throwing them out in the field and not giving them any tools, or you're not fighting those fights. They're not the only people that are fighting those fights alone. You know what I mean? And a lot of cases with a lot of cannabis brands, it seems like, that's the case, is that the reps just out there fighting their own fight, and they're fighting the fight for the brand versus, a sales manager taking 8 hours out of their day and stepping into the field and interacting with customers themselves, but you have to have a positive mindset, because this industry can be brutal. Shit can change all the time. And if you're calm, they're calm. And if you're positive and trying to work through solutions with them and being overly communicative to where you're purple in the face, I think that's what drives a lot of the positivity. And that's at least how I curate conversations with my sales team, on trying to keep a light head and keep level headed and keep positive. And, at the end of the day, if somebody's not going to be able to do something, or there's a store that's being a pain in the ass, like, that's when I'm going to step in and come help you and give you that confidence. And that usually always leads to some sort of, the positivity and confidence is a combination of the two. So,
sounds good. For the wine, beer, and spirits industry, normally, a sales route is like Monday to Friday, and then Friday is like for tastings and helping with some deliveries here and there. And then, Monday is usually when people take new products, like a new introductions happening, placements. And then Tuesday, Wednesday is more like repeat orders sort of circuit, what is a typical KPI, like a key performance indicators you've given your reps, like number of accounts they have to hit, number of accounts they have to open new accounts, then maybe 2 case displays in every account. Are there like any targets that you define them that they have to hit every week, or how are you measuring your reps, right? So explain us that.
There's we try to take it, we have a thing that we say in our organizations where it's keep it simple, stupid. And with, I guess, like the way that I've at least seen it, I've worked with big brands like Select and seen aggressive KPI set. And even still with those aggressive KPIs, they were once the number 1 brand, and now I think they're like probably number 8 or number 9 for vape cartridges, right? So I think when it comes to us and our organization and how I set up our team, it's just about trying to make sure that they're set up for success from a scheduling standpoint, and that they're not running around trying to understand what their route's going to be every single day whenever they first wake up, and really setting them up for success. And any KPIs that are set around that, they should be hitting anywhere from 7 to 10 stores a day, always prospecting every single month. We have an overall store goal that we're trying to achieve by the end of the year, which is about 400 doors, and we're only 20 doors away from that. So,
so like a rep should open maybe 4 new accounts every week, at least?
We try to, depending on how many doors we actually have now, we just divide that up in the month, because the biggest thing that the biggest KPIs that we're really trying to focus on are like order cycles and getting consistent orders with dispensaries and getting consistent communication. The doors always come, and the rep should always be prospecting anywhere from like 5 to 10 new dispensaries a month. And we should be trying to reach whatever that 400 door goal is. If that's 20 dispensaries divided by our 4 reps by 5 months, that's how many doors we should be hitting. But our main goal is ensuring that they're hitting. Our main KPIs is, are you hitting your sales goal? Are you touching base with all of your customers once a month? Are you hitting your actual paperwork KPIs? May that be sending out emails to, if you have 72 dispensaries, you should be hitting 72 emails every single Monday times 4. But our biggest KPIs are really focusing on our order cycles and focusing on the sales. So out of your 72 dispensaries, you only have 50 dispensaries that are ordering on a monthly order cadence, and the other 50 are ordering on every 2 to 3 month order cycles, and trying to break down those order cycles to then gain more sales. So
Got
we're
it.
a little bit more, we're a little bit more simple, stupid with it. Like we're trying not to overwhelm the reps with it, with at least like trying to hit a certain amount of stores or open new doors. Like there's a main objective for doors.
Do you, I got it. Do you get depletion reports from your accounts, and then you see which are the top accounts and here are the accounts which are slow? So let's go and sort of, figure out a way on why they are not depleting stock. And, because your reorder is based on obviously what's going out to consumers, right? So you will need that data to find out, or it's just physically seeing that your product is still sitting there.
I would say like only 10% of our total portfolio, and this goes for every single brand too as well. A lot of those dispensaries aren't sharing stock out reports, sell-through reports, things like that. They're actually continuing to try to control that information. And that's why we're, at least for my team, we have to be really aggressive and heavy on the road, because beverages is like the last thing that people are thinking about, since it's only 2% of their profit and 2% of their total sales for the overall for their dispensary. And a lot of times it's literally us, like, today I'm out with my rep Ed, and yesterday we were out in Monterey, and there's been a dispensary, I won't name any names, but they've been out of stock for 2 weeks. And we literally had budtenders telling us that customers were yelling at them for not having products, right? And we've sent them emails three times a week for the last 2 weeks and haven't gotten a response, even though they need product back in stock. And there's dispensaries like that just aren't even sharing reports. So we have to be really aggressive on the field and watch their order cycles based on when they're coming back in for their region, between the time that they place their order and the time that they've reordered, and then have a meeting set with them and say, hey, I know for a fact, but after going into your dispensary that you're out for 2 weeks and it's been 5 weeks, really. So you're selling through product within 3 weeks, let's tack on 1 or 2 additional cases. So you're not selling out and being out of stock for 2 weeks and losing, X amount of profit on it. So a lot of it is still just internal data that we're bringing in ourselves in order to try to control the inventory levels.
Sure, understood. What about the sales approach, right? So if someone brand new, who's not done cannabis sales, or let's say even wine sales, and then walking on, and he or she is asking you, so what do I have to do, right? So you when you open a new account, or when you're hitting an account, so what is an approach that you guys use? You just go there and ask them, I really want to spill here, like really, like, hey, who handles the purchasing here, or who's the bud tender here, or who's the owner of this dispensary? And then what are your next steps, and what kind of, how do you present your product? Like, walk me over that journey, please.
Yeah, basically on like acquiring an account. Yeah.
Or going and introducing into a new account.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's the way, there's so many different ways that you can prospect and interact with the new account. It's something that I've been trying to work on for the last 2 years, on what's actually a good customer acquisition model, and like what are the certain processes that are taken in order to acquire an account. But there's honestly so many different variables.
So give me 3 or 4 examples.
Yeah, like one example is there's certain dispensaries like 1841 where they have vendor days set, where it's every Wednesday from 11 to 1. It's a free for all. You can just go and talk to the buyer. That's one example of how you can prospect a brand new account. You just bring your samples in. Their set times. Go in there, present the product, leave some samples either on hand or follow up with next steps, and send out the product actually to the dispensary via metric, and then have a set date on when you're going to follow up again, or go back in that next Wednesday after about a week once they've actually sampled the product. That's one example on how you can acquire an account. Another way to acquire an account is just rolling into the dispensary, setting them within your route. So our reps, based on how many dispensaries that they have, we actually set up our schedules out 2 weeks in advance based on certain regions that we want to go. And we try to hit at least 50% of those stores that we're trying to hit are recurring customers, and the other 50% of those dispensaries are new accounts that we may not in that area. And we also have a territory spreadsheet of all the dispensaries that are in each individual rep's area and the percentage of coverage in each county that's there. So we can understand if we're going out to Monterey County that we have 80% of that already and there's only 2 dispensaries, like we might put them in a prospect, or we might not even prioritize it because those stores, they're the last on the list, and we're just going to focus on trying to build up the name in order for those people to come to us. But it's throwing those dispensaries into your route. And sometimes it takes just literally stopping into the dispensary 2 or 3 times over the month, getting an email and sending 3 emails a week, every single week for 4 weeks in order to just get an email back from a buyer in order to set a meeting, and then changing your route, going to that meeting, and then rinse and repeating that same process as you're stopping in a dispensary when they have their set days, like 11 to 1 on a Wednesday, pitching the product, setting a follow-up date, going back in, talking about the feedback from the product, showing them their new, obviously the new customer acquisition deal, and acquiring them on. That's another example on how you just road run and hit it. We've even taken their route approach too as well. Like myself, when I'm acquiring new accounts, I'm actually just trying to find on LinkedIn who's the owner of the dispensary and contacting them, because we've been trying to contact their dispensary for 6 months and haven't gotten a response from a buyer. That's happened twice actually. And we'll have to take the owner route in order to get them to talk to us from the buyer level. It's very rare that you can stop in, talk to a bud tender, and then, get an email to the buyer, but it's really just sending emails out all the time. I would say 80% of the time you have to stop in that dispensary over and over and over again, get the same email, or just stop in there over and over again to the point where you're like, hey, I've sent 7 emails. I need to talk to the manager. Like at this point, I'm going to stop in every week for the next 6 weeks if that's what it's going to take. And you guys are going to be like, hey, you need to send an email. Hey, you need to send an email. And it's going to get to the point where I'm going to say, hey, I've sent 45 emails and I haven't gotten 1 email. What do I do at this point now? And I would say that is the bulk majority of how reps are acquiring accounts.
Understood. What about the pitch?
And then the case of where you're branded.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and then there's also the route too, where if you're focused on, if you're really, really deep into your dispensary spread and your distribution spread, and you understand that you have 80% of an entire county locked in, and that means that there's only 2 dispensaries left on the list. Sometimes it's better to just build up the dispensary partners that you have and then let those customers come to you. So then the power and the control is back in the brand, and the sales are much easier at that point. It's send me some samples and I'll get the order next week,
Got it. What about the pitch? You got the meeting, let's say the buyer said, all right, come 11 o'clock, tell me what it is. What does your elevator pitch include? And what's a good pitch, basically? It's not just for yourself, but what is a good tip you would want to give to other reps out there selling anything, in cannabis? Like what is a buyer looking for from you?
Yeah, I think, organization for, if I were to give any reps advice on how to pitch to a dispensary, it's, knowledge is power. I was just telling this to my guy yesterday, like we were out in Monterey. It's a very low income area. Not a lot of dispensaries. It's good for you to understand the actual demographic of the area. May it be low income? What's the average income household and how much are they making? And understanding the actual territory that you're about to be stepping into, because it might not be right for your product. If you're selling like a $65 eighth, and if you're going to an area where the average income household is only $45,000 a year, it might not be the best approach for you to try to go and pitch in a really high-end expensive flower to that dispensary. You might try to approach with your pre-rolls that you have on your menu. And when we're going out there and pitching, we're just trying to be as organized as possible and basically just trying to state our case. So we come in backed with data. We come in backed with really organized decks in order to be able to paint the picture to where it's fast. It's all about, again, keeping it simple, stupid. Like the buyer has got 20 minutes.
So what does that deck include? It's about you, your story, and then let's say more
story,
about
the
merchandising.
Products, yeah, the story, the products, what you can offer. Basically, you're pitching. You got to think that you're trying to get them to give you money. So in order to pitch the best approach on how to get them to give you money is you have to be able to provide your case on how you're going to make them money and how it's worth it for them to give you money. May that be setting in all of your marketing decks, having a really well put together and easy, approachable new offering package that's not beneficial. It's never should be beneficial for you on the first term when it comes to buyers. Like if you're a flower brand and if you have a $5,000 minimum, you better fucking rethink your $5,000 minimum and approach your new accounts with a $1,200 minimum and just get the ball rolling. It's all about keeping it easy and keeping it easy for the buyer to be able to say yes. So we just pitch the brand. We talk about who we are and we keep it real. We show them some data to prove and give them some confidence that our product does sell through. And then we put together just a nice product description and product portfolio where we're showing them digitally a deck of all of our products and the COGS and painting them the picture on their profit margins and the product descriptions, and then having physical product in store to be able to give to them, and then showing them on how we're going to support them and how we're going to provide sell-through, right? Because
got it. So let's go deeper there because that was my next question: is how you going to help them sell through, and we can wrap it up after this, basically on how you will help them deplete the product, right? What are the things that you've seen working for you, and usually like if you had limited budget, what would be the best place to invest in helping them sell through?
Well, for us at Uncle Arnie's, you already know the deal. We're bootstrapped and we keep this thing as raw as possible. So we don't have a ton of marketing dollars to be able to shell at people. Out of all 400 of our dispensaries, we have 2 shelving fees, which is probably pretty uncommon for amongst the entire space. I think for us, and ultimately the way how we ensure sell through a product from our side is hooking the budtenders up. If the drug dealers aren't happy with your product, like I said previously, the first order is never going to be in your benefit. And as a brand, you have to understand that in order to build the brand loyalty and to build the customer loyalty, you have to make it beneficial for them, not beneficial for you, because it's all about the long-term thought process whenever you're going in and interacting with these people, right? Like when we're approaching new customers, we approach it with a 5-year mindset or a 10-year mindset, not with we're going to get this going for the next 6 months and see how this rolls. That's never how we've thought about it. So it's overloading them with samples and getting the budtenders really stoked on the product and believing beverage in general and getting them fucking just hooked on it and having a very lucrative promotion plan and giving the store all promotion in order to make sure that the product does sell through. Within at least a 30-day span. If you're going to go over 30 days and not provide any product and just have the confidence that your brand's going to sell, you're going to end up losing 9 times out of 10 when it comes to being in the space. So that's how we approach it, is really lucrative promotion plans, hooking the budtenders up first and foremost always, and making that order non-beneficial for us.
Loving it, man. Loving it. Anything else you would want to add, Ave, on what's going on in your space? Any pitch, anything that you would want, maybe for dispensaries that would be a good one, like, hey, this is what we do. Anything. It's the last one's on you.
I think I'm just really excited about beverage, dude. And I think I'm excited about what you got going on, Sid, and really bringing light to the space. And, it's a long-term play with what we're trying to do. So, to all the brands that are out there, it's going to be a fight for the next 2 years. And I think when it comes to interacting with people like you, Sid, and your category specifically, we just all have to be in this. There's a space for competition and there's also a space for support. And I think supporting each other more now than ever and pushing beverage as a whole is the ultimate goal. And I'm just stoked to see what you guys got going on, and I'm always just excited to see what new beverage brands are going to come into the space. Like we were at some dispensaries yesterday and people were throwing Mary Jones around and all these other brands that are coming out, trying to seem like it was almost like nerve wracking for us. And, for me, I think I'm really just excited for what's going to be happening over the next year. The more brands and more big names that come into our space means the more customer acquisition and customer loyalty is going to happen from the dispensary side of things too, as well. And for dispensaries, just keep believing in beverage, man. That's how I feel about it, because regular edibles, I was talking with one of the old buyers actually for Harborside the other day. He's over at a new dispensary, and he was telling me how cool it's been to watch just the space evolve, and especially from an edible side of things, to where he's like, the cookies and brownies and this very like classic stoner like mindset, or from like an edible product, how it's starting to actually phase out, and how these new innovative products like beverages, or like, I saw like Jello shots, there's like a company called Compound or something that's making Jello shots. And I think that the buyers and dispensaries need to be more excited about the new innovations and be willing to pick up those products and giving them a shot, and expanding that space in order to bring a whole brand new customer in, and to also show the customers what's out there in the world, right? We had a buyer yesterday that we were trying to pitch that was brand new. And I love that he said this, because it for me, you see me post about this a lot on LinkedIn and talk about it a lot. It's all about the changing of that buyer mindset, and taking your opinion out of the factor and looking at the customer and putting their opinion over yours. And even when he was looking through our deck and was talking about the product, he was like, yeah, I'm super guilty for this, and I probably should stop. He's like, I always take my personal opinion a little bit more seriously than what the customer is wanting. So he was like, I'll take a look at your product and look at the data. And, it's something that's really intriguing. We just don't have a lot of space for beverages and things like that. But, again, I have to take my personal opinion out of it, because at some point my customers want this. And I think, over the next 2 years, it's going to be a rough ride for buyers and for dispensaries, for people that continue to keep their opinion the number one choice on how products enter into the space, and actually looking at consumer data and purchasing for the customer versus purchasing for ourselves,
True. Super. Well said. I respect the way you respect your customers. So we'll wrap it up, Ave. We'll see you soon at the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you, Sid. I hope you have a good one.
Thanks, buddy. Happy selling out there. Thank you.
Cheers.